All right, I am pleased to be joined by the man that brings the party to the ring. He is taking BC by storm, Michael May. Michael, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to get to know a little bit more about you. And we like to start off with the character. For someone who's never seen a Michael May match before, the Neon the Neon Phenom, the Menace to Sobriety. Tell us what to expect from a Michael May match and what you're all about in the ring.
Oh, man, I'm just about making sure everybody there is having fun, man. Like my matches are a party. There's going to be some drinking, there's going to be some fighting. It's a good time. Yeah, it's I mean the whole thing to me is just about wrestling itself is a party. It's a good time. Everybody's there to have a good time. Everybody, depending on the show, people are having drinks. We're just making sure that the vibe is right, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now you've got the shades on, you've got the neon hat, the neon shirt. You're living the part, my friend.
Always, brother.
Perfect. So you spent a lot of time in Alberta, it looks like, and then you made your way to BC to wrestle for Wrestlecore, Canadian Apex Wrestling, of course, VIPW, and just made your debut for Thrash. Tell me what it's been like moving into BC and kind of taking over the scene here.
I mean, it's been a big change, stylistically and just having to make inroads in a new area. Um, Alberta has a little bit different wrestling style than BC does, where the focus is in the ring. So that's been a bit of an adjustment, but it's part of the reason I wanted to come out here is to try something a little different. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Alberta has a very busy scene. You can do a lot of shows in a month out there. There's a lot of small town shows. Here, it's not so much like that. But the shows that we do have tend to be a little bit bigger, a little bit crazier. So it's been really fun to make that transition. Um, Debuting for Thrash in the Okanagan over the last couple of weeks was awesome. I actually lived in Kamloops at one point and have a lot of friends in the Okanagan. Um, VIPW has been kind of my new home base. BJ and Cremator out there are phenomenal. They take good care of us, and I was lucky enough to be on their first WrestleFest show when we had over 2,000 people there, and I was opening the show. So it's been an adjustment, but it's been an amazing experience so far.
Perfect. And we'll talk a little bit more about WrestleFest 2 coming up in June as well in Nanaimo. But talk a little bit about your training and working with the guys in VIPW.
Uh, I mean, my training. So originally, I trained at Storms back in like 2008, I want to say. But then had a pretty bad back injury that took me out for a fair period of time.
Okay.
And then yeah, and then I not through wrestling, through a drywall job. Um, but then I'm now that guy in the locker room who's like, oh, DDP Yoga saved my life. I had back problems for a long stretch, and then 2 months of that got me feeling good again, and so I went Can-Am in Calgary. Had a school going at the time. Went there to knock the rust off and get some work in, and just started doing shows. Yeah, it's been 3 or 4 years now that I've been back, and I've been lucky enough that I went to Can-Am, and then I actually during COVID went down to Mexico City for 2 months and trained with a wide array of trainers down there, which was an amazing experience. The knowledge, the whole style down there is so different, and it's but the trainers and the other wrestlers down there. Sometimes I feel like lucha doesn't get the respect it deserves. When you go down there and you want to learn their style and what they're about, they're stoked about it. So we were treated so amazing down there. And obviously, that's going to add some different stuff to your repertoire, show you a little bit different way of doing things. And then, yeah, as to like VIPW, I've done a lot of work with their younger guys, their guys that are coming up, the guys coming through their school. I went to their last school tryout just to lend a hand and an extra set of eyes and see what we were working with. So it's been cool to kind of, as much as I haven't been at this a super long time, because of the aforementioned back injury. It's been cool to be able to work with some of these newer kids and try and help them develop and move along with what they're doing. It's been kind of short term full circle.
Yeah, that's quite the story you've got there. I mean, coming back from an injury, leading into some DDP yoga, learning in Mexico City, now helping the younger guys. You've got, a wealth of knowledge that you can share just based off of your experience, from where you've been and what you've seen. And you talked about the lucha training that you got. That really is a lifestyle there. So you probably, a wide variety of stories you could share from there if you want to share maybe one highlight from Mexico City.
I mean, the craziest thing for me down there was just there was a group of us Canadians that got brought down. Um, and we weren't just training one place with one trainer. There were days where we were doing like 3 sessions at 3 different gyms in one day. Um, and training with everything from like some of the younger guys that are really making an impact all the way to like training with Shocker and Negro Navarro and El Mexicano, these guys that have been around the business forever, and view it a lot differently than some of the younger guys. We were also lucky enough to train a lot with Ricky Marvin,
Okay.
who, yeah, spent a lot of time in Noah and was actually the head trainer there for like a decade. Um, Incredible trainer. And anybody who's met him will tell you also one of the biggest personalities you will ever meet. He's a bit of a crazy person in a good way. He's a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, that's my biggest takeaway was just like the variety of opportunities that were available because Mexico City is huge. And obviously Lucha is huge there. So I haven't actually sat down and taken count of how many different people we trained with, but it's absurd. Like most of the time, if you're training in Canada, you've got 1 or 2 trainers. There's maybe 1 or 2 schools in a province, and going to probably 6 or 8 different training facilities and with multiple trainers at each, all in the same city, was very, very eye opening. It's wild. And then every Friday night, we would grab a couple different bottles of tequila we hadn't tried yet, and go hit the Mexico City nightlife, which is a whole different show.
And
I'm not sure they actually have an hour they have to close there. So yeah, it
yeah,
was a
the
wild trip.
just keeps rolling from there. Once the drinks start pouring, they're not closing those doors.
No, man, it was crazy. We found a bar that did like English speaking 90s night on Fridays. And you'd roll out of there at 4:30 in the morning. They'd still be going hard. It was crazy. Roll out of there and get, street tacos, some of the best tacos you've ever had in your life. And you're paying like 40 cents Canadian a taco. Like, yeah, it was a hell of an experience. I would love to go back down there. I really would.
That is a very cool story. And like I said, that's probably for you just the tip of the iceberg with the experience that you got there with the Canadian group that you went with. That is quite quite incredible. So very cool experience for you. I saw that you've also had some experience with like Chris Hero having a seminar with him. You got to spend
Oh,
some time with
man.
Carlito. What was it like kind of being under those learning trees?
So Carlito was cool, but kind of quiet. We actually, the day after the show, we had to take him back to, because the show was in Lethbridge, Alberta. We had to take him back to Calgary for his flight, but his flight wasn't until later in the day. So he wanted to do something touristy. So Sydney Steele and I took him to Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump, which
Okay.
is like a whole Native American museum about like where they used to hunt the buffalo. So that was an unexpected adventure for sure. A little bit different experience. Um, Chris Hero, I can't speak highly enough of. Not only was his seminar phenomenal, but the next day at NEW, he was just sitting at a table by himself, just hanging out. And I wandered over. He's been one of my favorites since early in his career. I'm a big fan of his work. And I just wandered over the table and asked if I could sit down, and we ended up talking for probably 45 minutes. Um, he is exactly how you expect him to be. They always tell you don't meet your idols, but he's like one of those guys that just absolutely loves wrestling. He's so down to earth. He was very giving with advice, very complimentary. I definitely took a lot from that conversation. So it was a very, very cool experience to have. That was definitely a major one on my bucket list. So that was it. Yeah, that was amazing.
That's super cool. And it's nice to have that experience that you did with someone who's really been one of your heroes in the industry. No pun intended, I guess, on that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I recently saw that a beer pong match broke, or beer pong game, I guess we'll call it, broke out in the middle of one of your matches. How does that even end up happening?
It's actually happened like 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
I mean, you get inserted in a match like a tables match, and we've seen Public Enemy come out with their own tables, and the Dudley Boys come out with their own tables. So I'm just trying to bring the party. I set up that table, and I'm sure the clip you're referring to is when me and BJ Laredo were playing beer pong, and then put Scotty Mack through the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hilariously organic. I had made the table. I was ready to go with that. Um, Middle of the match, a guy in the crowd, as I picked up a normal table, said to me, "What are you doing? That's not a beer pong table." And I just looked at him and was like, "You want to play beer pong?" And I ran out of the crowd and came back with that table and slid it into the ring. And me and BJ were the only ones in there, so we decided to play a little beer pong. We didn't even have a ball. We actually pulled off our wrist tape to use as balls for the beer pong game.
That
Yeah,
is hilarious.
it was a lot of fun. We did a fans bring the weapons match at Canadian Apex Wrestling, like a big battle royal type of deal. And that match as well, I actually ended up ducking out under the bottom rope and playing beer pong on the outside for a while everybody else hit each other with things. So it also, provides me a little escape from time to time when things are getting hectic.
That's a different type of powder right there. Awesome. Well, you've been super generous with your time. I've only got a couple more questions for you, Michael. Uh, just any upcoming matches that you have that you want to plug, feel free to take this time to plug those.
Yeah, I mean, I just did Thrash. I'm hoping to get back out with them relatively soon. Just, waiting to hear word. My Instagram and my Facebook page both always have all of my match or upcoming shows listed on them. Anybody who wants to come out and party, just keep an eye there.
Perfect. And if you want to talk a little bit more about your WrestleFest match for those who are unaware of what that stipulation looks like.
WrestleFest, we're doing the Cage of Extreme. It is basically a War Games match. It's going to be 4-on-4, alternating entries. Um, it's so far because we have yet to find a fourth. It's me and Danny Deeds and Matt Maverick against Scott Steele, Scotty Mack, Devin Shooter, and whoever they find as their fourth. Scott Steele's been kind of holding VIPW hostage ever since he came back. He put BJ out of action. He's been running rampant. This is our chance to shut him down. We're going to be running at the Frank Crane Arena again. It's a big hockey arena. We had over 2,000 people there last time. Shaw live streamed the whole thing with multiple cameras. It's a huge event. It's an absolute ton of fun. Last year, I was lucky enough to be in there with like Eddie Osborne and Evan Rivers and the crew that I was in there with. I was in a 6-man match. Shooter was in there as well. Laxadartha, Elliot Tyler. It was crazy. One of the coolest experiences I've had in this business. I've been lucky enough to be on multiple arena shows, which not a lot of people in Canadian independent wrestling can say. And I feel really grateful for that. This upcoming one should be the biggest one yet. It's going to be absolute insanity. It's going to be a packed house. The card is shaping up amazing. It's going to be a wild, wild show. Anyone on the island should be coming out to that one. Even if you're not on the island, it'll be worth the trip.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to being there myself. And you talked about your social media. Plug where people can find you online.
Uh, Instagram at type A May, type EH, very Canadian. Yeah, at type A May, and I believe Facebook is the same at type A May. Um, yeah, that's I post, the standards, clips, photos, and any upcoming events will be listed there.
Awesome, Michael. Unless there's anything else you want to plug, you've been very generous with your time. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to catching you at any upcoming shows.
Sounds good, brother. I'll see you there.